Imagine walking into a luxury hotel only to be turned away because of the color of your skin. Unbeknownst to the manager, you're the owner. This is the jaw-dropping moment that sets off a chain of events filled with shocking twists, heartwarming triumphs, and a powerful lesson about humility, resilience, and the true meaning of leadership. From a single act of discrimination to a global movement that changed countless lives, this is the unforgettable story of Marcus Johnson and the Grand Horizon. But here's the real question. What would you do if you were in his shoes? And while you're thinking about it, tell us, from which country are you enjoying this story? Make sure to let us know in the comments below. Let's take this journey together. The sun was setting over the bustling city of New York, casting a golden glow over the skyline. The streets were alive with the hum of traffic, the chatter of pedestrians, and the occasional blare of a taxi horn. Amidst the chaos, a sleek black car pulled up to the entrance of the Grand Horizon Hotel, one of the most luxurious and prestigious hotels in the city. The doorman, dressed in a crisp uniform, stepped forward to open the car door. Out stepped a man in his early 40s, dressed in a tailored navy blue suit that screamed sophistication. His polished shoes clicked against the pavement as he adjusted his cufflinks. He carried an air of quiet confidence, the kind that comes from years of hard work and success. His name was Marcus Johnson. And unbeknownst to the staff of the Grand Horizon, he was the hotel's new owner. Marcus had made his fortune in real estate, starting from humble beginnings in a small town in Georgia. He'd built his empire brick by brick, deal by deal, and now he was the proud owner of one of the most iconic hotels in the country. But Marcus wasn't one to flaunt his success. He preferred to stay under the radar, observing how things operated before making his presence known. Today, however, was different. He had decided to visit the hotel incognito to see how his new acquisition was being run. As Marcus walked through the revolving doors, he was greeted by the opulent lobby of the Grand Horizon. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, their light reflecting off the marble floors. The air smelled faintly of lavender and expensive perfume. Guests lounged on plush sofas, sipping cocktails and chatting quietly. It was the picture of luxury, and Marcus couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. He approached the front desk, where a young receptionist with a bright smile greeted him. "Welcome to the Grand Horizon, sir. How may I assist you today?" Marcus returned the smile. "I'd like to check in, please. I have a reservation under the name Johnson." The receptionist nodded and began typing on her computer. After a moment, her smile faltered. She glanced up at Marcus, then back at the screen, her expression tightening. "I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, but it seems there's been a mistake. We don't have a reservation under that name." Marcus frowned. "That's odd. I made the reservation myself just a few days ago. Could you double-check, please?" The receptionist hesitated, then leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "Sir, are you sure you're in the right place? This is the Grand Horizon. Perhaps you meant another hotel?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "I'm quite sure. I made the reservation for a suite on the top floor. If you could just—" Before he could finish, a man in a sharp gray suit appeared behind the receptionist. He was in his late 50s, with salt and pepper hair and a stern expression. His name tag read, Mr. Harold Thompson, Hotel Manager. "Is there a problem here?" Harold asked, his tone clipped. The receptionist glanced nervously at Marcus. "Mr. Thompson, this gentleman says he has a reservation, but I can't find it in the system." Harold's eyes flicked to Marcus, and for a brief moment, his expression hardened. He straightened his tie and stepped forward, his voice cold and dismissive. "I'm sorry, sir, but we're fully booked tonight. Perhaps you'd have better luck at another establishment." Marcus blinked, taken aback. "Fully booked? That's impossible. I made the reservation myself. If you could just—" Harold cut him off with a wave of his hand. "I'm afraid there's nothing I can do. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have other guests to attend to." With that, Harold turned on his heel and walked away, leaving Marcus standing at the front desk, stunned. The receptionist gave him an apologetic look, but said nothing. Marcus took a deep breath, trying to keep his composure. He had faced discrimination before, but this was different. This was his hotel.
As he turned to leave, a thought crossed his mind. If this was how the manager treated guests, what else was going on behind the scenes? Marcus clenched his jaw, a fire igniting in his chest. He had built his career on fairness and integrity, and he wasn't about to let this slide. But for now, he would play along. He would see just how deep the rot went. And when the time was right, he would reveal the truth, not just to Harold Thompson, but to everyone at the Grand Horizon. Marcus stepped out of the Grand Horizon Hotel, the cool evening air brushing against his face. He paused for a moment, glancing back at the towering building. The lights from the windows sparkled like stars, but the warmth he'd felt earlier was gone, replaced by a simmering frustration. He wasn't just any guest, he was the owner. And yet, he'd been turned away like he didn't belong. As he walked down the street, his mind raced. He could have revealed his identity right then and there, demanded to speak to the board, or fired Harold Thompson on the spot. But Marcus wasn't impulsive. He'd learned long ago that the best way to handle a problem was to understand it fully before acting. And right now, he needed to understand what was really going on at his hotel. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. After a few rings, a cheerful voice answered. "Marcus, how's the Big Apple treating you?" It was Evelyn Carter, his longtime friend and business partner. Evelyn was sharp, resourceful, and had a knack for getting to the heart of any situation. If anyone could help him figure this out, it was her. "Evelyn," Marcus said, his voice low, "I need your help with something." Evelyn's tone shifted immediately. "What's wrong?" Marcus quickly filled her in on what had happened at the hotel. When he finished, there was a brief silence on the other end of the line. "You're kidding," Evelyn said finally. "He turned you away? The owner?" "Yep," Marcus replied, his jaw tightening. "And the way he did it, it wasn't just about the reservation. It was something else." Evelyn sighed. "I hate to say it, but it sounds like you've got a Harold problem." "A Harold problem?" Marcus repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah," Evelyn said. "You know, the kind of guy who thinks he's untouchable because he's been in charge for too long. Throws his weight around, makes decisions based on, well, you know." Marcus knew exactly what she meant. He'd encountered people like Harold before. People who let their biases cloud their judgment and thought they could get away with it because of their position. But this time, it was personal. "So, what's the plan?" Evelyn asked. Marcus took a deep breath. "I'm going back. But not as Marcus Johnson, the owner. I'm going back as someone else." Evelyn chuckled. "I like where this is going. What's the role?" "I'm thinking a new hire," Marcus said. "Maybe a maintenance worker or a janitor. Something that'll let me move around the hotel without drawing too much attention." "Brilliant," Evelyn said. "You get to see how things really operate, and no one will suspect a thing. But you'll need a cover story. And a disguise." Marcus smiled. "That's where you come in." The next morning, Marcus arrived at the Grand Horizon Hotel once again, but this time, he looked completely different. Gone was the tailored suit and polished shoes. Instead, he wore a simple uniform, dark blue pants, a matching shirt with the hotel's logo, and a name tag that read Mike Harris. A pair of glasses and a baseball cap completed the look, along with a slight slouch that made him seem unassuming. Evelyn had worked her magic, pulling strings to get him hired as a temporary maintenance worker. The HR department had no idea who he really was, and Marcus intended to keep it that way, for now. As he walked through the employee entrance, he was greeted by Carlos, the head of maintenance. Carlos was a burly man in his 50s with a kind smile and a firm handshake. "You must be Mike," Carlos said. "Welcome to the team." We've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. Marcus nodded, doing his best to look eager. Ready when you are. Carlos led him through the back corridors of the hotel, pointing out the boiler room, the storage areas, and the service elevators. As they walked, Marcus took mental notes of everything he saw, the state of the equipment, the morale of the staff, and the overall atmosphere. It didn't take long for him to notice that things weren't as pristine behind the scenes as they were in the lobby. The walls were scuffed, the floors were stained, and the air smelled faintly of mildew. The staff moved quickly, their faces tense, as if they were constantly on edge. Marcus frowned. This wasn't the kind of environment he wanted for his employees. As they passed the kitchen, Marcus overheard a heated conversation between two chefs. "I told Harold we needed new equipment weeks ago," one of them said. "But he just brushed me off. Said the budget was tight." "Typical," the other chef replied. "He's too busy schmoozing with the guests to care about what happens back here." Marcus made a mental note to address the kitchen situation as soon as possible. But for now, he needed to focus on his role. Carlos handed him a toolkit and assigned him his first task, fixing a leaky faucet in one of the guest suites. Marcus nodded and headed for the elevator, his mind racing. This was his chance to see how the hotel operated from the inside, and to figure out just how deep Harold Thompson's influence went. As he stepped into the elevator, he couldn't help but smile. This was going to be interesting. The elevator doors slid open, and Marcus stepped out onto the 12th floor, toolkit in hand. The hallway was quiet, save for the faint hum of a vacuum cleaner in the distance. He glanced at the room number on his work order, Suite 1207, and made his way down the plush carpeted corridor. As he approached the suite, he noticed a housekeeping cart parked outside the door. A young woman in a crisp uniform was arranging fresh towels on the cart, her back to him. She turned as he approached, her eyes widening slightly when she saw him. "Oh, you must be the maintenance guy," she said, her voice friendly but tinged with exhaustion. "I'm Sophia. I called about the faucet." Marcus nodded, offering a polite smile. "Mike. Nice to meet you. Let's take a look." Sophia stepped aside, allowing him to enter the suite. The room was spacious and elegantly decorated, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a stunning view of the city. But Marcus's attention was immediately drawn to the bathroom, where the sound of dripping water echoed faintly. He set down his toolkit and got to work, examining the faucet. As he tightened a loose valve, Sophia leaned against the doorway, watching him with curiosity. "So, you're new here, right?" she asked. "Yeah, just started today," Marcus replied, keeping his tone casual. "How about you? How long have you been working at the hotel?" Sophia sighed. "Almost 2 years. It's not what I expected." Marcus glanced up, sensing an opening. "Oh, what do you mean?" She hesitated, then lowered her voice. "It's just the management. They don't really care about us. We're understaffed, overworked, and whenever we bring up issues, they just ignore us. It's like we're invisible." Marcus frowned, his mind racing. This was exactly the kind of insight he'd been hoping for. "That sounds tough. Has anyone tried talking to, what's his name? Harold Thompson?" Sophia let out a bitter laugh. "Harold? Please. He's the worst of them all. He only cares about the guests. Well, the right kind of guests, if you know what I mean." Marcus's hands stilled for a moment. He knew exactly what she meant. "That's not right," he said quietly. "Everyone deserves to be treated with respect." Sophia gave him a grateful smile. "You're sweet. But that's just how it is here. Most of us are just trying to get by." Marcus finished tightening the faucet and stood, wiping his hands on a towel. "Well, for what it's worth, I think you're doing a great job. This place wouldn't run without people like you." Sophia's smile widened, and for a moment, she looked genuinely touched. "Thanks, Mike. That means a lot." As Marcus packed up his tools, he made a mental note to address the staff's concerns as soon as possible. But first, he needed to gather more information, and that meant getting closer to Harold Thompson. Later that afternoon, Marcus found himself in the staff break room, sipping a cup of coffee and listening to the chatter around him. The room was small and cramped, with a few mismatched chairs and a vending machine that looked like it hadn't been restocked in weeks. The atmosphere was tense, with employees exchanging hushed whispers and wary glances. Marcus sat at a table with Carlos and a few other maintenance workers, doing his best to blend in. As the conversation turned to Harold, he leaned in, eager to hear more. "Did you hear what happened to Maria in housekeeping?" One of the workers, a man named Jake, said. "She asked for a day off to take her kid to the doctor, and Harold straight up told her no. Said if she didn't like it, she could find another job." Carlos shook his head, his expression grim. "That guy's a piece of work. I've been here 10 years, and I've never seen anyone like him. He's got no respect for anyone." Marcus frowned, his grip tightening on his coffee cup. "Has anyone ever tried to stand up to him?" Jake snorted. "And risk getting fired? No way. Harold's got the board wrapped around his finger. He could do whatever he wants, and no one would stop him." Marcus leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. This was worse than he'd thought. Harold wasn't just a bad manager. He was a tyrant, and he'd created a culture of fear and silence. If Marcus was going to fix this, he'd need to do more than just fire Harold. He'd need to rebuild the entire system. As he sat there, a plan began to form in his mind. He'd start by gaining the trust of the staff, showing them that someone was listening. Then, when the time was right, he'd reveal his true identity and take action. But for now, he needed to play the role of Mike Harris, the maintenance worker. That evening, as Marcus clocked out and headed for the employee exit, he noticed a commotion near the front desk. A group of guests was gathered around, their voices raised in anger. At the center of it all was Harold Thompson, his face red as he tried to calm them down. "I assure you, we're doing everything we can to resolve the issue," Harold said, his tone strained. "Please, just give us a little more time." Marcus paused, watching the scene unfold. One of the guests, a middle-aged man in a suit, stepped forward, his expression furious. "This is unacceptable. We paid good money for this stay, and all we've gotten is excuses. I demand to speak to someone who can actually do something." Harold's jaw tightened, but before he could respond, Marcus stepped forward. "Excuse me, sir. I'm with maintenance. Is there something I can help with?" The guest turned to him, his anger momentarily replaced by surprise. What can you do?" Marcus met his gaze, his voice calm but firm. "I can't promise miracles, but I'll do everything in my power to make this right." The guest hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. But this had better be good." As Marcus led the guest away, he caught a glimpse of Harold's face. The manager looked furious, his eyes narrowing as he watched Marcus. But Marcus didn't care. He had a job to do, and a hotel to save. Marcus spent the next few days fully immersed in his role as Mike Harris, the maintenance worker. He fixed leaky faucets, unclogged drains, and even helped the housekeeping staff move heavy furniture. But more importantly, he listened. He listened to the stories of overworked employees, the frustrations of underpaid staff, and the quiet resentment that simmered beneath the surface of the grand horizon. One evening, as he was repairing a flickering light in the staff break room, Sophia walked in, looking exhausted. She slumped into a chair and let out a long sigh. "Rough day?" Marcus asked, glancing over his shoulder. "You could say that," Sophia replied, rubbing her temples. One of the guests threw a fit because their room wasn't ready on time. "Harold blamed me, even though I've been running around all day trying to keep up." Marcus tightened the last screw and stepped down from the ladder. "That's not fair. You're doing the best you can." Sophia gave him a tired smile. "Thanks, Mike. But it doesn't matter. Harold doesn't care about fairness. He just cares about keeping the guests happy. Well, the ones he likes, anyway." Marcus sat down across from her, his expression thoughtful. What if there was a way to change that? What if someone stood up to Harold and showed him that the staff deserves respect too? Sophia laughed bitterly. "That's a nice thought, but it's not going to happen. Harold's untouchable. The board loves him, and he's been here forever. No one's going to risk their job to take him on. Marcus leaned forward, his voice low but firm. What if I told you there's someone who could? Sophia frowned, her curiosity piqued. What do you mean? Marcus hesitated, then decided to take a calculated risk. I can't say much right now, but let's just say there's a plan in motion. And when the time comes, I'll need your help. Sophia studied him for a moment, her eyes narrowing. Who are you, really? Marcus smiled. Just a guy who believes in doing the right thing. The next day, Marcus decided it was time to take a more active role in addressing the hotel's issues. He started by organizing a small meeting with a few trusted employees, including Sophia, Carlos, and Jake. They gathered in a storage room after their shifts, the air thick with tension and curiosity. "All right, Mike," Carlos said, crossing his arms. "What's this all about?" Marcus took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "I know things here aren't great. Harold's running this place into the ground, and the staff is paying the price. But I think we can change that, if we work together." Jake raised an eyebrow. "And how do you plan to do that? Harold's not exactly the type to listen to reason." "He doesn't have to," Marcus replied. "We just need to show the board that there's a better way. If we can prove that the staff is the backbone of this hotel, and that Harold's mismanagement is hurting the business, they'll have no choice but to take action." Sophia frowned. "That's a big if. How are we supposed to prove anything?" Marcus smiled. "By documenting everything. Every complaint, every incident, every time Harold ignores a problem or mistreats an employee. We'll gather evidence and present it to the board. But we have to be careful. If Harold finds out, he'll do everything he can to stop us." The room fell silent as the group processed his words. Finally, Carlos nodded. "All right, I'm in. But if this blows up in our faces, I'm blaming you." Marcus chuckled. "Fair enough." Over the next week, Marcus and his small team worked tirelessly to gather evidence. They documented everything from broken equipment and ignored maintenance requests to Harold's dismissive treatment of staff. They even managed to record a few heated conversations between Harold and employees, capturing his harsh words and condescending tone. But as they dug deeper, Marcus began to uncover something even more troubling. It seemed Harold wasn't just a bad manager. He was also skimming funds from the hotel's budget. Marcus found discrepancies in the financial records, with large sums of money being funneled into accounts that didn't seem to belong to any legitimate vendor. One evening, as Marcus was reviewing the records in the storage room, Sophia burst in, her face pale. "Mike, you need to see this." She handed him a piece of paper, a memo from Harold to the accounting department. It was a request to transfer a substantial amount of money to an offshore account, with a note that read, "Asterisk, for personal use. Keep this quiet. Asterisk." Marcus's eyes widened. "This is it. This is the smoking gun." Sophia nodded, her expression grim. "But what do we do with it? If Harold finds out we have this, he'll come after us." Marcus stood, his mind racing. "We need to act fast. I'll take this to the board myself. But we'll need to be careful. Harold can't know what we're doing." The next morning, Marcus arrived at the hotel early, dressed in his maintenance uniform. He slipped into the service elevator and made his way to the executive offices on the top floor. As he approached the boardroom, he could hear voices inside, Harold's among them. Marcus took a deep breath, then pushed the door open. The room fell silent as everyone turned to stare at him. "Can I help you?" Harold snapped, his face red with anger. "This is a private meeting." Marcus stepped forward, holding up the memo. "Actually, I think I can help you. I have some information you might find interesting." The board members exchanged confused glances, but one of them, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and an air of authority, nodded for him to continue. Marcus handed her the memo and began to explain everything he and his team had uncovered. As he spoke, the room grew quieter, the tension thickening with every word. When he finished, the woman, Ms. Eleanor Grant, the chair of the board, leaned back in her chair, her expression unreadable. "This is quite the accusation. Do you have proof?" Marcus nodded. "I do. And I'm willing to share it, on one condition." Harold slammed his fist on the table. "This is outrageous. You can't just barge in here and make baseless accusations." Ms. Grant held up a hand, silencing him. "Let him speak." Marcus met her gaze, his voice steady. "My condition is simple. The staff deserves better. If you're going to remove Harold, I want your word that you'll listen to the employees and make real changes." Ms. Grant studied him for a moment, then nodded. "You have my word." The boardroom was silent, the air thick with tension. All eyes were on Marcus as he stood before the board. His maintenance uniform a stark contrast to the suits and polished shoes around him. Harold Thompson sat at the far end of the table, his face pale, his hands clenched into fists. Ms. Eleanor Grant, the chair of the board, leaned forward, her sharp eyes fixed on Marcus. "You've made some serious allegations. Before we proceed, I need to know who you are and why we should trust you." Marcus took a deep breath. This was the moment he'd been waiting for. "My name is Marcus Johnson," he said, his voice steady, "and I'm the new owner of the Grand Horizon Hotel." The room erupted into gasps and murmurs. Harold shot to his feet, his face red with rage. "That's impossible. The new owner is supposed to be some out-of-town billionaire. You're just a maintenance worker." Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card, sliding it across the table to Ms. Grant. She picked it up, her eyes widening as she read the name. Marcus Johnson, CEO of Johnson Holdings. "It's true," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I received a call from Mr. Johnson's office last week, informing me of the ownership transfer. I just didn't expect," she trailed off, glancing at Marcus's uniform. Marcus smiled. "I wanted to see how the hotel was being run before making any changes. And what I found was troubling, to say the least." Harold sank back into his chair, his face ashen. "This is a setup," he muttered. "You're trying to frame me." Ms. Grant held up the memo Marcus had given her. "This is your signature, Harold. And the offshore account. We've been investigating discrepancies in the budget for months. This confirms everything." The other board members exchanged uneasy glances, their loyalty to Harold wavering. One of them, a man in his 50s with a stern expression, spoke up. "What do you propose we do, Mr. Johnson?" Marcus straightened, his voice firm. "First, Harold needs to be removed from his position immediately. Second, we need to conduct a full audit of the hotel's finances. And third, we need to listen to the staff. They're the ones keeping this place running, and they deserve to be treated with respect." Ms. Grant nodded. "Agreed. Harold, you're suspended effective immediately. We'll be conducting a full investigation into your conduct." Harold's face twisted with anger. "You can't do this. I built this hotel. I made it what it is." Marcus stepped forward, his gaze unwavering. "No, Harold. The staff built this hotel. You just took credit for their hard work. It's time for that to change." Later that day, Marcus gathered the staff in the hotel's grand ballroom. The room buzzed with nervous energy as employees whispered to each other, wondering why they'd been called together. Marcus stood at the front of the room, still dressed in his maintenance uniform, with Sophia, Carlos, and Jake by his side. "Thank you all for coming," Marcus began, his voice carrying across the room. "I know things haven't been easy lately. You've been overworked, underappreciated, and ignored. But that changes today." He paused, letting his words sink in. "My name is Marcus Johnson, and I'm the new owner of the Grand Horizon. For the past week, I've been working alongside you as Mike Harris, the maintenance worker. I wanted to see firsthand what was happening in this hotel, and what I found was unacceptable." The room erupted into murmurs of shock and disbelief. Marcus held up a hand, silencing them. Harold Thompson has been removed from his position, and we're conducting a full investigation into his conduct. But that's just the beginning. From now on, this hotel will be run with fairness, respect, and transparency. And that starts with listening to you." He gestured to Sophia, Carlos, and Jake. "These three have been instrumental in helping me uncover the truth, and they'll be leading the effort to make real changes here. But I need all of you to be part of this too. Your voices matter, and I want to hear them." The room erupted into applause, the tension giving way to relief and hope. Sophia stepped forward, her eyes shining with tears. "Thank you, Marcus. This means everything to us." Marcus smiled. "This is just the beginning. Together, we're going to make the Grand Horizon the best it can be, not just for the guests, but for everyone who works here." As the meeting ended and the staff began to disperse, Marcus felt a sense of satisfaction he hadn't felt in a long time. He'd taken a risk, and it had paid off. But he knew the real work was just beginning. Later that evening, as he stood on the hotel's rooftop terrace, looking out over the city skyline, Sophia joined him. "You know," she said, her voice soft, "when you first showed up, I thought you were just another guy trying to get by. But you're different." Marcus chuckled. "I'm just a guy who believes in doing the right thing." Sophia smiled. "Well, for what it's worth, I'm glad you're here." Marcus turned to her, his expression serious. "Me too. And I'm not going anywhere. This hotel, this team, is worth fighting for." The days following Harold Thompson's suspension were a whirlwind of activity at the Grand Horizon. Marcus wasted no time in making his presence felt, holding meetings with department heads, reviewing budgets, and listening to the concerns of the staff. For the first time in years, the hotel felt alive with possibility. One of Marcus's first acts as owner was to appoint Sophia as the interim manager of guest services. Her promotion was met with cheers from the staff, who had long admired her dedication and kindness. Carlos was given oversight of the maintenance department, and Jake was put in charge of employee relations. Together, they formed a new leadership team, one that prioritized transparency and collaboration. But not everyone was happy with the changes. Some of the senior staff, who had been loyal to Harold, viewed Marcus with suspicion. They whispered in corners, questioning his motives and doubting his ability to run the hotel. Marcus knew he had to win them over, but it wouldn't be easy. One afternoon, Marcus called a meeting with the hotel's department heads. The conference room was tense as he walked in, his presence commanding attention. He took a seat at the head of the table and looked around the room, meeting each person's gaze. "I know this is a time of uncertainty," he began, his voice calm but firm. "Change is never easy, especially when it comes so suddenly. But I want to assure you that my goal is to make this hotel the best it can be, for everyone." He paused, letting his words sink in. "I've heard a lot of concerns over the past few days, and I want to address them head-on. If you have questions, now is the time to ask." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Mr. Daniels, the head of finance, cleared his throat. "With all due respect, Mr. Johnson, how do we know you're not just another Harold? You come in, make big promises, and then leave us to pick up the pieces." Marcus nodded, acknowledging the question. "That's a fair concern. But I'm not here to make promises I can't keep. I'm here to listen, to learn, and to work with you to make real changes. And I'm not going anywhere. This hotel is my responsibility now, and I take that seriously." Another department head, Ms. Patel, spoke up. "What about the budget? Harold always said we had to cut corners to stay afloat. How are you going to handle that?" Marcus leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. "I've reviewed the finances, and while there are challenges, they're not insurmountable. We'll need to make some tough decisions, but I'm committed to doing it in a way that's fair and transparent. And I'll need your help to make it work." The room fell silent as the department heads exchanged glances. Finally, Mr. Daniels nodded. "All right, we'll give you a chance. But we're watching." Marcus smiled. "That's all I ask." As the days turned into weeks, Marcus worked tirelessly to implement his vision for the hotel. He introduced new training programs for staff, invested in much-needed repairs and upgrades, and even started a monthly town hall where employees could voice their concerns and ideas. Slowly but surely, the atmosphere at the Grand Horizon began to shift. One evening, as Marcus was reviewing reports in his office, there was a knock on the door. Sophia stepped in, holding a stack of papers. "Got a minute?" "Always," Marcus said, gesturing for her to sit. "What's on your mind?" Sophia handed him the papers. These are suggestions from the staff for improving guest services. Some of them are really good, like creating a loyalty program for frequent guests or offering personalized welcome packages. Marcus flipped through the pages, impressed. This is exactly the kind of input we need. Let's prioritize these ideas and start implementing them as soon as possible. Sophia smiled, her eyes shining with excitement. It's amazing to see everyone so engaged. It's like the hotel has come alive again. Marcus leaned back in his chair, a satisfied smile on his face. That's the goal. But we're just getting started. There's still a lot of work to do. Despite the progress, not everything went smoothly. One morning, Marcus received a call from Carlos, his voice tense. "We've got a problem. The boiler in the basement is acting up, and if it goes out, we'll have no hot water for the entire hotel." Marcus grabbed his jacket and headed for the basement. When he arrived, he found Carlos and a team of maintenance workers gathered around the boiler, their faces grim. "What's the situation?" Marcus asked, rolling up his sleeves. Carlos wiped sweat from his brow. "It's old, and it's been patched up too many times. We can try to fix it, but it's only a matter of time before it gives out completely." Marcus studied the boiler, his mind racing. How much would a new one cost? Carlos hesitated. "A lot. More than we can afford right now." Marcus nodded, his expression determined. "Then we'll find a way. We can't risk shutting down the hotel. Let's get a temporary fix in place and start looking for financing options." As the team got to work, Marcus stayed to help, handing tools and offering encouragement. By the end of the day, the boiler was running again, for now. But Marcus knew it was only a temporary solution. He made a mental note to prioritize the issue in the next budget meeting. That evening, as Marcus was leaving the hotel, he ran into Sophia in the lobby. She looked exhausted but happy, a stack of papers tucked under her arm. "Long day?" Marcus asked, smiling. Sophia laughed. "You could say that. But it's worth it. The guests are noticing the changes, and the feedback has been amazing." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "It's not just about the guests, though. It's about the people who make this place run. You, Carlos, Jake, all of you. You're the heart of this hotel." Sophia's eyes softened. "Thanks, Marcus. That means a lot." As they stood there, the lobby quiet except for the soft hum of the air conditioning, Marcus felt a sense of pride he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a community, and he was determined to protect it. The Grand Horizon had been thriving under Marcus's leadership. Guest satisfaction scores were up, employee morale was higher than ever, and the hotel was finally turning a profit. But just as things seemed to be falling into place, a new challenge emerged, one that would test Marcus and his team like never before. It started with a phone call. Marcus was in his office, reviewing the latest financial reports, when his phone buzzed. It was Ms. Eleanor Grant, the chair of the board. "Marcus," she said, her tone serious. "We need to talk. There's a situation." Marcus's stomach tightened. "What's going on?" "Harold Thompson," she replied. "He's filed a lawsuit against the hotel, claiming wrongful termination. He's also alleging that you've mismanaged funds and created a hostile work environment." Marcus leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. "That's ridiculous. Everything we've done has been above board." "I believe you," Ms. Grant said. "But Harold's got connections, and he's playing dirty. He's even reached out to the media. This could get ugly." Marcus took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "What do we do?" "We fight," Ms. Grant said firmly. "But we need to be smart about it. I'll have our legal team reach out to you. In the meantime, keep this quiet. The last thing we need is panic among the staff." After the call, Marcus sat in silence for a moment, his thoughts swirling. He knew Harold was bitter, but he hadn't expected this. If the lawsuit gained traction, it could undo all the progress they'd made, and worse, it could destroy the trust he'd built with the staff. He decided to call a meeting with his leadership team, Sophia, Carlos, and Jake. When they gathered in his office, he explained the situation, watching their reactions closely. Sophia was the first to speak. "This is insane. Harold's just trying to save face. He knows he's guilty, so he's trying to drag us down with him." Carlos nodded, his expression grim. "But if the media gets involved, it could hurt the hotel's reputation. We've worked too hard to let that happen." Jake crossed his arms, his usual humor replaced by seriousness. "So, what's the plan? How do we fight back?" Marcus leaned forward, his voice steady. "We stay focused. We keep doing what we've been doing, running this hotel with integrity and transparency, and we let the truth speak for itself." The next few days were tense. Rumors began to spread among the staff, fueled by snippets of news articles and social media posts. Marcus knew he had to address the situation head-on. He called a town hall meeting, gathering the entire staff in the grand ballroom. As he stood before them, he could feel the weight of their uncertainty. "I know there's been a lot of talk lately," he began, his voice calm but firm. "And I want to address it directly. Harold Thompson has filed a lawsuit against the hotel, making some serious accusations. But I want you to know this: we've done nothing wrong. Everything we've done has been in the best interest of this hotel and the people who work here." He paused, letting his words sink in. "This isn't just about me. It's about all of us. Harold's trying to divide us, to make us doubt ourselves. But we're stronger than that. We've proven that over the past few months. And we're not going to let him take that away from us." The room erupted into applause, the staff's loyalty and determination shining through. Sophia stepped forward, her voice ringing out. "We've got your back, Marcus. Whatever it takes, we're in this together." Marcus smiled, his heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you. That means everything to me." Despite the staff support, the lawsuit loomed like a dark cloud. Marcus spent long hours working with the legal team, reviewing documents, and preparing for the battle ahead. But even as he focused on the fight, he made sure to stay connected to the staff, showing them that he was still there for them. One evening, as he was leaving the hotel, he found Sophia waiting for him in the lobby. She looked worried, her usual confidence replaced by uncertainty. "Hey," Marcus said, his tone gentle. "What's on your mind?" Sophia hesitated, then sighed. "I'm just scared. What if Harold wins? What happens to us?" Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder, his expression reassuring. "He's not going to win. We've got the truth on our side. And no matter what happens, I'm not going to let him hurt this hotel or the people who work here." Sophia nodded, her eyes filling with tears. I don't want to lose this. It feels like we've finally found a place where we belong." Marcus smiled. "You're not going to lose it. I promise." As the days turned into weeks, the lawsuit dragged on, but Marcus refused to let it define him. He continued to lead with integrity, focusing on the hotel and the people who made it special. And slowly but surely, the storm began to pass. One morning, as Marcus was reviewing the latest guest feedback, Ms. Grant called again. This time, her tone was triumphant. "It's over, Marcus. Harold's dropped the lawsuit." Marcus's heart leapt. What happened? "He didn't have a case," Ms. Grant said. And once the media started digging into his past, he realized he was fighting a losing battle. "He's gone, Marcus. For good." Marcus leaned back in his chair, a wave of relief washing over him. "Thank you. For everything." "Thank you," Ms. Grant replied. "You've done an incredible job. The board couldn't be happier." That evening, Marcus gathered the staff in the ballroom once again. This time, the atmosphere was electric, the tension replaced by excitement. "I have some good news," Marcus said, his voice ringing out. "Harold has dropped the lawsuit. It's over." The room erupted into cheers, the staff's joy and relief palpable. Marcus smiled, his heart full. "This isn't just a victory for me. It's a victory for all of us. We stood together, and we showed what we're made of. And I couldn't be prouder to be part of this team." As the applause died down, Sophia stepped forward, her eyes shining. "We couldn't have done it without you, Marcus. You've shown us what real leadership looks like." Marcus shook his head. "No. You've shown me what real strength looks like. And together, we're going to make the Grand Horizon the best it can be." With Harold Thompson's lawsuit behind them, the Grand Horizon entered a new era. The staff was more united than ever, and the hotel's reputation was stronger thanks to Marcus's leadership and the team's hard work. But Marcus knew that staying complacent wasn't an option. If they wanted to secure the hotel's future, they needed to keep pushing forward. One of Marcus's first priorities was addressing the hotel's aging infrastructure. The boiler incident had been a wake-up call, and he was determined to prevent similar issues from arising. He called a meeting with Carlos and the maintenance team to discuss a long-term plan. "We need to modernize," Marcus said, spreading blueprints across the table. "Starting with the boiler, but also the electrical systems, plumbing, and HVAC. It's going to be expensive, but it's necessary." Carlos nodded, his expression serious. "It's about time. We've been patching things up for years. But where are we going to get the funding?" Marcus smiled. "I've been working with Ms. Grant and the board. They've agreed to allocate a portion of the hotel's profits to a renovation fund. It's not enough to cover everything, but it's a start." Carlos grinned. "That's great news. The team's going to be thrilled." Meanwhile, Sophia was busy implementing new guest service initiatives. She had taken Marcus's words to heart and was determined to make the Grand Horizon the most welcoming hotel in the city. One of her ideas was a guest appreciation week, where every guest would receive a personalized welcome package and a chance to win a free stay. "It's all about creating memorable experiences," Sophia explained during a team meeting. "If we can make our guests feel special, they'll keep coming back, and they'll tell their friends." The staff loved the idea, and they threw themselves into planning the event. Marcus was impressed by their enthusiasm and creativity. "You've really taken this to the next level," he told Sophia one evening as they reviewed the plans. Sophia smiled. "It's easy to be excited when you're part of something bigger than yourself. This hotel, it's not just a job anymore. It's a family." Marcus nodded, his heart swelling with pride. "You're right. And I'm grateful to be part of it." As the renovations and guest initiatives moved forward, Marcus also focused on strengthening the hotel's ties to the community. He reached out to local businesses, artists, and organizations, creating partnerships that benefited both the hotel and the city. One of his proudest achievements was the Art in the Lobby program, where local artists could display their work in the hotel's grand lobby. The program was a hit with guests and artists alike, and it brought a new energy to the space. "This is amazing," Sophia said as they stood in the lobby one evening, admiring a vibrant painting by a local artist. "It's like the hotel has a soul now." Marcus smiled. "That's what I was hoping for. A hotel isn't just a building, it's a reflection of the people who work here and the community around it." But even as things improved, challenges remained. One afternoon, Marcus received a call from Jake, his voice tense. "We've got a problem. One of our suppliers just backed out. They're saying we're too small to meet their minimum order requirements." Marcus frowned. "Which supplier?" "The one for our linens," Jake replied. "Without them, we're going to run out of towels and sheets in a matter of weeks." Marcus took a deep breath, his mind racing. "All right, let's not panic. I'll make some calls and see if we can find another supplier. In the meantime, let's see if we can stretch what we have." As he hung up the phone, Marcus felt a familiar weight settle on his shoulders. Running a hotel was never easy, but he was determined to find a solution. He spent the next few days reaching out to suppliers, negotiating deals, and even considering local options. Finally, he found a new supplier who was willing to work with them, and at a better price. When he shared the news with Jake, the younger man let out a relieved laugh. "You're a lifesaver, Marcus. I don't know how you do it." Marcus smiled. "It's all about persistence, and having a great team to back you up." As the months passed, the Grand Horizon continued to grow and thrive. The renovations were completed, the guest initiatives were a hit, and the hotel's reputation soared. But for Marcus, the real success was in the relationships he'd built, with the staff, the community, and even the board. One evening, as he stood on the rooftop terrace, looking out over the city skyline, Sophia joined him. "You've done it, you know," she said, her voice soft. "You've turned this place around." Marcus shook his head. We've turned it around. I couldn't have done it without you, without all of you." Sophia smiled. "Maybe. But you were the spark. You showed us what was possible." Marcus turned to her, his expression thoughtful. "And you showed me what it means to lead. It's not about being in charge, it's about lifting people up and giving them the tools to succeed." Sophia's eyes softened. "Well, whatever it is, you're pretty good at it." As they stood there, the city lights twinkling below, Marcus felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel. It was a testament to what people could achieve when they worked together. And he was proud to be part of it. The Grand Horizon had become a beacon of success in the city, but Marcus knew that success was fragile. Just as the hotel was hitting its stride, a new challenge emerged, one that would test the team's resolve like never before. It started with a storm. A massive hurricane was forecasted to hit the city, bringing with it torrential rains, high winds, and the potential for widespread damage. The news spread quickly, and soon the hotel was flooded with calls from guests canceling reservations and employees worried about their safety. Marcus called an emergency meeting with his leadership team, Sophia, Carlos, and Jake. The atmosphere in the room was tense as they gathered around the table. "All right," Marcus began, his voice calm but firm. "We need to prepare for the worst. Carlos, I need you to make sure the building is secure. Check the windows, the roof, and the basement. We can't afford any leaks or flooding." Carlos nodded, his expression serious. "I'll get the team on it right away." Marcus turned to Sophia. "We need to communicate with our guests. Let them know we're doing everything we can to keep them safe. And if anyone wants to leave, we'll help them make arrangements." Sophia jotted down notes, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Got it. I'll also make sure we have plenty of supplies. Food, water, flashlights, everything we might need." "Good," Marcus said. He turned to Jake. "I need you to coordinate with local authorities and emergency services. Let's make sure we're on their radar in case things get bad." Jake nodded, his usual humor replaced by determination. "I'm on it." As the storm approached, the hotel buzzed with activity. Carlos and his team worked tirelessly to secure the building, while Sophia and her staff reassured guests and stocked up on supplies. Marcus moved between departments, offering support and making sure everyone was prepared. By the time the storm hit, the hotel was as ready as it could be. The wind howled outside, and the rain lashed against the windows, but inside, the atmosphere was calm. Guests gathered in the lobby, where Sophia had arranged blankets, snacks, and even a movie to keep everyone entertained. Marcus stood by the front desk, watching as the staff worked together seamlessly. He felt a surge of pride. This was what they'd been building toward, a team that could handle anything. But the storm wasn't done with them yet. In the early hours of the morning, as the wind reached its peak, there was a loud crash from the basement. Marcus and Carlos rushed downstairs to find water pouring in through a crack in the foundation. "We need to seal that now," Carlos said, his voice urgent. "If the water keeps coming, it could flood the entire basement, and that's where the electrical systems are." Marcus grabbed a stack of sandbags and started piling them against the crack. "Let's move." Together, they worked frantically, their clothes soaked and their hands numb from the cold. But just as they thought they had the situation under control, the power went out, plunging the basement into darkness. "Great," Carlos muttered, pulling out a flashlight. "Just what we needed." Marcus shone his own flashlight around the room, his mind racing. "We need to get the backup generator running. If we lose power for too long, the guests are going to panic." Carlos nodded. "I'll take care of it. You go check on everyone upstairs." As Marcus made his way back to the lobby, he found Sophia and Jake managing the situation with remarkable calm. Guests were huddled under blankets, their faces lit by the glow of flashlights and candles. Sophia was passing out hot drinks, her voice soothing as she reassured everyone. "We've got this," she told Marcus when she saw him. "The generator should kick in any minute." As if on cue, the lights flickered back on, and a cheer went up from the guests. Marcus felt a wave of relief, but he knew they weren't out of the woods yet. The storm raged on for hours, but the hotel held strong. By the time it passed, the city was a mess: downed trees, flooded streets, and widespread power outages. But the Grand Horizon had weathered the storm, thanks to the hard work and dedication of its staff. As the sun rose the next morning, Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace, surveying the damage. The city looked battered, but the hotel was intact. Behind him, Sophia joined him, her face tired but smiling. "We did it," she said, her voice filled with pride. Marcus nodded. "We did. But this isn't over. The city's going to need help rebuilding, and we're in a position to make a difference." Sophia's eyes lit up. "What are you thinking?" Marcus smiled. "I'm thinking we open our doors. We've got space, supplies, and a team that knows how to take care of people. Let's offer shelter to anyone who needs it." Sophia's smile widened. "I love it. Let's make it happen." Over the next few days, the Grand Horizon became a sanctuary for those affected by the storm. Families, first responders, and even stranded travelers found refuge within its walls. The staff worked around the clock, their exhaustion outweighed by their determination to help. Marcus watched as his team rose to the occasion, their compassion and resilience shining through. He knew then that they weren't just running a hotel, they were building a legacy. The Grand Horizon had become more than just a hotel. It was a refuge, a hub of compassion, and a symbol of resilience in the wake of the storm. As the city began to recover, Marcus and his team worked tirelessly to support their community, opening their doors to those in need and organizing relief efforts. One morning, as Marcus was coordinating with local authorities in the lobby, a familiar face walked through the doors. It was Ms. Eleanor Grant, the chair of the board. She looked around, taking in the bustling activity. Guests being served hot meals, volunteers sorting donations, and staff members offering comfort to weary families. "Marcus," she said, her voice filled with admiration. "This is incredible. I had no idea you were doing all this." Marcus smiled, his eyes tired but bright. "We're just doing what we can. The city's been good to us. It's time to give back." Ms. Grant nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You've turned this hotel into something truly special. The board and I have been discussing how we can support your efforts. We'd like to establish a community fund, dedicated to helping the city rebuild." Marcus's heart swelled with gratitude. "That's amazing. Thank you." Ms. Grant smiled. "Thank you, Marcus. You've shown us what's possible when we lead with compassion." As the days turned into weeks, the hotel's relief efforts gained momentum. Sophia organized a team of volunteers to distribute supplies to affected neighborhoods, while Carlos and his maintenance crew helped repair homes and businesses. Jake worked with local organizations to coordinate long-term recovery plans, and Marcus became a familiar face at community meetings, advocating for those who needed help the most. One evening, as Marcus was leaving a meeting at City Hall, he ran into Mayor Reynolds, a no-nonsense woman with a reputation for getting things done. "Mr. Johnson," she said, extending her hand. "I've been hearing a lot about you and your team. You've made quite an impact." Marcus shook her hand, his grip firm. "We're just doing our part." The mayor smiled. "Well, your part has made a big difference. I'd like to partner with the Grand Horizon on a citywide initiative, a program to help small businesses recover and rebuild. What do you think?" Marcus's eyes lit up. I think it's a great idea. Let's make it happen. Back at the hotel, Marcus shared the news with his team. They gathered in the lobby, their faces tired but filled with pride. This is it, Marcus said, his voice ringing out. This is our chance to make a real difference, not just for our guests, but for the entire city. We've shown what we can do when we work together. Now let's take it to the next level. The room erupted into applause, the staff's energy and determination palpable. Sophia stepped forward, her eyes shining. We're with you, Marcus. Whatever it takes. Carlos nodded, his usual gruffness replaced by a rare smile. Let's get to work. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. The Grand Horizon became the headquarters for the city's recovery efforts, hosting meetings, workshops, and fundraisers. Marcus and his team worked closely with local businesses, offering resources, mentorship, and even temporary office space. One of their proudest achievements was the Rising Horizons program, which provided grants and low-interest loans to small businesses affected by the storm. The program was a resounding success, helping dozens of businesses reopen their doors and creating hundreds of jobs. As the city began to heal, so did its spirit. The Grand Horizon became a symbol of hope and resilience, a testament to what people could achieve when they came together. One evening, as Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace, looking out over the city skyline, Sophia joined him. The lights of the city twinkled below, a reminder of how far they'd come. You know, Sophia said, her voice soft, when I first started working here, I never imagined it would become this. It's like we're part of something bigger now. Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. We are. This hotel isn't just a place to stay, it's a community. And we've shown that when we lift each other up, there's nothing we can't achieve. Sophia smiled. You've changed a lot of lives, Marcus. Including mine. Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. And you've changed mine. This isn't just my story, it's ours. As they stood there, the city lights reflecting in their eyes, Marcus felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a legacy. And he was proud to be part of it. The success of the Rising Horizons program had put the Grand Horizon in the spotlight. Media outlets from across the country were covering the hotel's efforts, and Marcus found himself inundated with interview requests and speaking engagements. But with the increased attention came new challenges. One morning, as Marcus was preparing for a press conference, Sophia burst into his office, her face pale. We've got a problem. Marcus looked up, his heart sinking. What's wrong? Sophia handed him a newspaper. The headline read, Grand Horizon under fire, allegations of mismanagement and favoritism. Marcus's stomach tightened as he scanned the article. It accused the hotel of giving preferential treatment to certain businesses in the Rising Horizons program and questioned the transparency of their financial dealings. This is ridiculous, Marcus said, his voice tight with frustration. We've been completely transparent. Who's behind this? Sophia hesitated. It doesn't say. But I did some digging, and it looks like the article was planted by a rival hotel chain. They're trying to discredit us. Marcus leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. This could ruin everything we've worked for. If people start doubting us, it could hurt the program, and the businesses we're trying to help. Sophia nodded, her expression grim. What do we do? Marcus took a deep breath, his resolve hardening. We fight back, but we do it the right way, with honesty and integrity. Marcus called an emergency meeting with his leadership team, Sophia, Carlos, and Jake. The atmosphere in the room was tense as they gathered around the table. All right, Marcus began, his voice calm but firm. We've got a situation. A rival hotel chain is trying to discredit us, and they're using the Rising Horizons program to do it. We need to respond, but we need to be smart about it. Carlos crossed his arms, his expression serious. What's the plan? Marcus leaned forward, his eyes steady. First, we need to address the allegations head-on. We'll hold a press conference and lay out the facts. Second, we'll open our books to an independent auditor. If we've got nothing to hide, we've got nothing to fear. Sophia nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. What about the businesses we've helped? If we can get them to speak out, it'll show the impact we've had. Good idea, Marcus said. Jake, I need you to reach out to them. Let's get as many testimonials as we can. Jake grinned, his usual humor returning. Consider it done. The press conference was held in the hotel's grand ballroom, which was packed with reporters, camera crews, and curious onlookers. Marcus stood at the podium, his heart pounding but his voice steady. Thank you all for being here, he began. I know there's been a lot of speculation lately about the Grand Horizon and the Rising Horizons program. I'm here to set the record straight. He went on to explain the program's mission, its impact, and the steps they'd taken to ensure transparency. He also announced the independent audit, inviting the media to review the findings once they were complete. But more importantly, Marcus said, his voice filled with passion, I want to talk about the people we've helped. The small business owners who've worked tirelessly to rebuild their lives. The families who found hope and support in their darkest moments. That's what this program is about, and that's what we're fighting for. As he finished speaking, the room erupted into applause. Sophia stepped forward, introducing several business owners who had benefited from the program. Their stories were powerful and emotional, and by the end of the conference, even the most skeptical reporters were nodding in approval. But the battle wasn't over. The rival hotel chain continued to spread rumors, and Marcus knew they needed to do more to protect their reputation. He decided to take the fight to the next level, organizing a citywide event to showcase the impact of the Rising Horizons program. The event, called Horizons Rising, was held in the hotel's grand lobby. Local businesses set up booths, showcasing their products and services, while volunteers handed out information about the program. The atmosphere was electric, filled with laughter, music, and the buzz of conversation. As Marcus walked through the lobby, greeting guests and thanking volunteers, he felt a surge of pride. This was what they'd been working for, a community united by hope and determination. But just as the event was winding down, Marcus received a call from Ms. Eleanor Grant. Her voice was tense. Marcus, we've got a problem. The rival hotel chain is planning to file a lawsuit, claiming we've been using the program to monopolize the market. Marcus's heart sank. That's absurd. We've been completely transparent. I know, Ms. Grant said, but they're playing dirty. We need to be ready. Marcus took a deep breath, his mind racing. All right, let's fight back. But we'll do it the right way, with honesty and integrity. As the days turned into weeks, the legal battle dragged on, but Marcus refused to let it define him. He continued to lead with compassion, focusing on the hotel and the people who made it special. And slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. One evening, as Marcus was leaving the hotel, he ran into Sophia in the lobby. She looked exhausted but happy, a stack of papers tucked under her arm. Long day? Marcus asked, smiling. Sophia laughed. You could say that. But it's worth it. The event was a huge success, and the media's finally starting to see the truth. Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. It's not just about the media, though. It's about the people who make this place run. You, Carlos, Jake, all of you. You're the heart of this hotel. Sophia's eyes softened. Thanks, Marcus. That means a lot. As they stood there, the lobby quiet except for the soft hum of the air conditioning, Marcus felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a community, and he was determined to protect it. The legal battle with the rival hotel chain had dragged on for months, draining resources and testing the resolve of everyone at the Grand Horizon. But Marcus refused to back down. He knew that the future of the hotel, and the community they'd worked so hard to build, was at stake. One morning, as Marcus was reviewing legal documents in his office, Sophia burst in, her face flushed with excitement. You're not going to believe this. Marcus looked up, his heart skipping a beat. What is it? Sophia handed him a letter. It's from the independent auditor. They've completed their review, and they've cleared us of all wrongdoing. They're even praising the transparency of the Rising Horizons program. Marcus's eyes widened as he scanned the letter. This is huge. We need to get this out to the media, and to the court. Sophia nodded, her eyes shining. I've already called a press conference. It's set for this afternoon. Marcus smiled, a wave of relief washing over him. You're amazing, you know that? Sophia laughed. I learned from the best. The press conference was held in the hotel's grand ballroom, which was packed with reporters, camera crews, and curious onlookers. Marcus stood at the podium, the auditor's report in hand, his heart pounding but his voice steady. Thank you all for being here, he began. I know there's been a lot of speculation lately about the Grand Horizon and the Rising Horizons program. Today, I'm here to set the record straight. He held up the auditor's report, his voice filled with conviction. This report confirms what we've been saying all along, that we've operated with complete transparency and integrity. The Rising Horizons program has helped dozens of businesses and hundreds of families, and we're proud of the impact we've had. As he finished speaking, the room erupted into applause. Sophia stepped forward, introducing several business owners who had benefited from the program. Their stories were powerful and emotional, and by the end of the conference, even the most skeptical reporters were nodding in approval. But the battle wasn't over. The rival hotel chain continued to spread rumors, and Marcus knew they needed to do more to protect their reputation. He decided to take the fight to the next level, organizing a citywide event to showcase the impact of the Rising Horizons program. The event, called Horizons Rising, was held in the hotel's grand lobby. Local businesses set up booths, showcasing their products and services, while volunteers handed out information about the program. The atmosphere was electric, filled with laughter, music, and the buzz of conversation. As Marcus walked through the lobby, greeting guests and thanking volunteers, he felt a surge of pride. This was what they'd been working for, a community united by hope and determination. But just as the event was winding down, Marcus received a call from Ms. Eleanor Grant. Her voice was tense. Marcus, we've got a problem. The rival hotel chain is planning to file a lawsuit, claiming we've been using the program to monopolize the market. Marcus's heart sank. That's absurd. We've been completely transparent. I know, Ms. Grant said, but they're playing dirty. We need to be ready. Marcus took a deep breath, his mind racing. All right, let's fight back. But we'll do it the right way, with honesty and integrity. As the days turned into weeks, the legal battle dragged on, but Marcus refused to let it define him. He continued to lead with compassion, focusing on the hotel and the people who made it special. And slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. One evening, as Marcus was leaving the hotel, he ran into Sophia in the lobby. She looked exhausted but happy, a stack of papers tucked under her arm. Long day? Marcus asked, smiling. Sophia laughed. You could say that, but it's worth it. The event was a huge success, and the media's finally starting to see the truth. Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. It's not just about the media, though. It's about the people who make this place run. You, Carlos, Jake, all of you. You're the heart of this hotel. Sophia's eyes softened. Thanks, Marcus. That means a lot. As they stood there, the lobby quiet except for the soft hum of the air conditioning, Marcus felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a community, and he was determined to protect it. The legal battle with the rival hotel chain had reached its boiling point. The court date was set, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If the Grand Horizon lost, it could mean the end of the Rising Horizons program, and the community they'd worked so hard to build. Marcus spent the days leading up to the trial preparing tirelessly. He reviewed documents, met with lawyers, and even reached out to the businesses they'd helped, gathering testimonials and evidence to support their case. But as the trial approached, he couldn't shake the feeling of unease in his gut. The night before the trial, Marcus found himself on the rooftop terrace, staring out at the city skyline. The lights of the city twinkled below, a reminder of everything they'd fought for. He heard footsteps behind him and turned to see Sophia approaching, 2 cups of coffee in hand. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked, handing him a cup. Marcus smiled, accepting the coffee. "Too much on my mind. What about you?" Sophia shrugged, leaning against the railing. "Same. I keep thinking about everything we've been through. It's hard to believe it all comes down to tomorrow." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "No matter what happens, I want you to know how proud I am of everything we've accomplished. You've been incredible, Sophia. This hotel wouldn't be the same without you." Sophia's eyes softened. "Thanks, Marcus. That means a lot. But we're not done yet. We're going to win this. I know it." Marcus smiled, feeling a surge of determination. "You're right. We've come too far to give up now." The next morning, the courtroom was packed with reporters, onlookers, and supporters of the Grand Horizon. Marcus sat at the defendant's table, his heart pounding but his resolve unwavering. Sophia, Carlos, and Jake were in the front row, their faces filled with quiet determination. The trial began, and the rival hotel chain's lawyers laid out their case, accusing the Grand Horizon of monopolizing the market and using the Rising Horizons program to gain an unfair advantage. But Marcus's legal team was ready, countering every accusation with facts, evidence, and testimonials from the businesses they'd helped. When it was Marcus's turn to take the stand, he felt a calm settle over him. He knew what he had to do. "Mr. Johnson," the rival hotel chain's lawyer began, his tone sharp. "Isn't it true that your program has given you an unfair advantage over other hotels in the area?" Marcus met his gaze, his voice steady. The Rising Horizons program was never about gaining an advantage. It was about helping our community recover from a devastating storm. We've been completely transparent about our actions, and we've done everything in our power to ensure fairness and integrity. The lawyer pressed on, but Marcus held his ground, his answers clear and unwavering. By the time he stepped down from the stand, even the judge looked impressed. The final day of the trial was tense, with both sides delivering their closing arguments. Marcus's lawyer, a sharp and passionate woman named Ms. Ramirez, stood before the jury, her voice filled with conviction. "The Grand Horizon has done nothing wrong," she said. "They've acted with honesty, integrity, and compassion. The Rising Horizons program has helped dozens of businesses and hundreds of families, and it's a testament to what we can achieve when we come together. Don't let fear and greed destroy something so valuable." When the jury returned with their verdict, the courtroom fell silent. Marcus held his breath as the foreman stood. "We find in favor of the defendant," the foreman said. "The Grand Horizon is cleared of all charges." The room erupted into cheers, and Marcus felt a wave of relief wash over him. Sophia, Carlos, and Jake rushed forward, their faces filled with joy. "We did it," Sophia said, her eyes shining with tears. Marcus smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "We did. But this isn't just a victory for us, it's a victory for the entire community." As the days turned into weeks, the Grand Horizon continued to thrive. The Rising Horizons program expanded, helping even more businesses and families, and the hotel's reputation soared. Marcus and his team became local heroes, their story inspiring others to lead with compassion and integrity. One evening, as Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace, looking out over the city skyline, Sophia joined him. The lights of the city twinkled below, a reminder of how far they'd come. "You know," Sophia said, her voice soft, "when I first started working here, I never imagined it would become this. It's like we're part of something bigger now." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We are. This hotel isn't just a place to stay, it's a community. And we've shown that when we lift each other up, there's nothing we can't achieve." Sophia smiled. "You've changed a lot of lives, Marcus, including mine." Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "And you've changed mine. This isn't just my story, it's ours." The victory in court had solidified the Grand Horizons' reputation as a beacon of hope and integrity. The hotel was thriving, the Rising Horizons program was expanding, and the community was stronger than ever. But for Marcus, the real victory was in the relationships they'd built and the lives they'd touched. One evening, Marcus decided to host a celebration for the staff and the businesses they'd helped. The grand ballroom was transformed into a festive space, with twinkling lights, colorful decorations, and a buffet filled with delicious food. The atmosphere was electric, filled with laughter, music, and the buzz of conversation. As Marcus stood at the front of the room, looking out at the sea of smiling faces, he felt a surge of pride. This was what they'd been working for, a community united by hope and determination. "Thank you all for being here," Marcus began, his voice ringing out. "Tonight, we're not just celebrating a victory in court. We're celebrating us, the people who make this hotel and this community so special." He paused, letting his words sink in. "When I first came to the Grand Horizon, I had no idea what to expect. But what I found was a team of incredible people who were willing to fight for what's right, no matter the odds. Together, we've faced challenges, overcome obstacles, and built something truly remarkable." The room erupted into applause, and Marcus felt a lump form in his throat. He looked out at Sophia, Carlos, and Jake, their faces filled with pride and gratitude. "This isn't just my story," Marcus continued. "It's our story, and I couldn't be prouder to be part of it." As the celebration continued, Marcus moved through the crowd, greeting guests and thanking staff members. He found Sophia near the buffet, chatting with a group of business owners. "There you are," Marcus said, smiling. "Having fun?" Sophia grinned. "Absolutely. This is amazing, Marcus. You've outdone yourself." Marcus shook his head. "This is all of us. I just brought everyone together." Sophia's eyes softened. "You've done more than that. You've shown us what's possible when we lead with compassion and integrity. And I think I speak for everyone when I say, thank you." Marcus felt a surge of emotion. "Thank you, Sophia. You've been my rock through all of this. I couldn't have done it without you." Sophia smiled, her eyes shining. "Well, whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Later in the evening, Marcus found Carlos and Jake near the bar, laughing and swapping stories. They looked up as he approached, their faces filled with warmth. "Hey, boss," Jake said, raising his glass. "Great party." Marcus chuckled. "Thanks. I couldn't have done it without you too." Carlos nodded, his usual gruffness replaced by a rare smile. "We're just doing our part. But you're the one who brought us all together." Marcus shook his head. "No. This is a team effort. And I'm proud to be part of this team." As the night wound down, Marcus found himself back on the rooftop terrace, looking out over the city skyline. The lights of the city twinkled below, a reminder of how far they'd come. Sophia joined him, her face glowing with happiness. "It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?" Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "It has. But I think this is just the beginning." Sophia raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Marcus smiled. "I've been thinking, why stop here? The Rising Horizons program has been so successful. What if we expanded it? What if we helped other communities, other cities, the way we've helped ours?" Sophia's eyes lit up. "That's an amazing idea. But it's a big undertaking. Are you sure you're ready for that?" Marcus chuckled. "With you and the team by my side? Absolutely." Sophia smiled, her eyes shining. "Then let's do it. Let's take this to the next level." As they stood there, the city lights reflecting in their eyes, Marcus felt a sense of peace and purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a legacy. And he was ready to build on that legacy, to create something even greater. The future was bright, and Marcus couldn't wait to see where it would take them. The idea of expanding the Rising Horizons program had taken root, and Marcus wasted no time in turning it into reality. Over the next few months, he and his team worked tirelessly to create a blueprint for the program's expansion, reaching out to other cities, businesses, and community leaders. The response was overwhelming, with dozens of communities eager to replicate the Grand Horizons' success. One crisp autumn morning, Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace, looking out over the city skyline. The air was cool, and the city was bathed in the golden light of dawn. Sophia joined him, holding 2 steaming cups of coffee. "Big day," she said, handing him a cup. Marcus smiled, accepting the coffee. "Big day indeed. Are you ready?" Sophia grinned. "Ready as I'll ever be. Let's change the world." The event, called Horizons Unlimited, was held in the hotel's grand ballroom. Representatives from cities across the country had gathered, along with business leaders, community organizers, and members of the media. The atmosphere was electric, filled with excitement and anticipation. Marcus stood at the podium, his heart pounding but his voice steady. "Thank you all for being here today. This is more than just an event, it's a movement. A movement to lift up communities, to create opportunities, and to show what's possible when we come together." He went on to explain the vision behind Horizons Unlimited, sharing stories of the businesses and families they'd helped through the Rising Horizons program. He spoke of the challenges they'd faced, the lessons they'd learned, and the impact they'd made. "But this isn't just about us," Marcus said, his voice filled with passion. "It's about you. It's about the communities you represent, the people you serve, and the future you want to build. Together, we can create something truly extraordinary." The room erupted into applause, and Marcus felt a surge of pride. He looked out at Sophia, Carlos, and Jake, their faces filled with determination and hope. As the event continued, Marcus and his team met with representatives from different cities, sharing their experiences and offering guidance. The energy in the room was palpable, with everyone eager to be part of something bigger than themselves. One of the attendees, a young woman named Maya, approached Marcus during a break. "Mr. Johnson, I just wanted to say, thank you. Your story has inspired me to start a similar program in my city. I can't wait to see what we can achieve." Marcus smiled, his heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you, Maya. That means a lot. And if you ever need help, don't hesitate to reach out. We're all in this together." Later in the evening, as the event wound down, Marcus found himself back on the rooftop terrace. The city lights twinkled below, a reminder of how far they'd come, and how much further they could go. Sophia joined him, her face glowing with happiness. "You did it, Marcus. You've created something truly special." Marcus shook his head. "We did it. This isn't just my legacy, it's ours." Sophia's eyes softened. "You've changed a lot of lives, Marcus, including mine." Marcus turned to her, his expression thoughtful. "And you've changed mine. This journey, it's been incredible. But it's not over yet." Sophia smiled. "No, it's not. And I can't wait to see where it takes us." As they stood there, the city lights reflecting in their eyes, Marcus felt a sense of peace and purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a legacy. A legacy of hope, resilience, and compassion. And he was proud to be part of it. The future was bright, and Marcus couldn't wait to see where it would take them. Years later, the Grand Horizon had become a symbol of hope and inspiration, not just in its city but across the country. The Horizons Unlimited program had helped countless communities, creating jobs, supporting businesses, and lifting up families. Marcus and his team had become legends, their story inspiring others to lead with compassion and integrity. One evening, as Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace, looking out over the city skyline, he felt a hand slip into his. He turned to see Sophia, her face glowing with happiness. "You know," she said, her voice soft, "when I first started working here, I never imagined it would become this. It's like we're part of something bigger now." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We are. This hotel isn't just a place to stay, it's a community. And we've shown that when we lift each other up, there's nothing we can't achieve." Sophia smiled. "You've changed a lot of lives, Marcus, including mine." Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "And you've changed mine. This isn't just my story, it's ours." As they stood there, the city lights reflecting in their eyes, Marcus felt a sense of peace and purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a legacy, and he was proud to be part of it. The success of Horizons Unlimited had catapulted Marcus and the Grand Horizon into the national spotlight. Requests for partnerships, speaking engagements, and media interviews poured in from across the country. But with the increased attention came new challenges, ones that would test Marcus's leadership and the team's unity like never before. One morning, as Marcus was preparing for a meeting with potential investors, Sophia burst into his office, her face flushed with excitement. "You're not going to believe this." Marcus looked up, his heart skipping a beat. "What is it?" Sophia handed him a letter. "It's from the White House. They want you to speak at a national conference on community development." Marcus's eyes widened as he scanned the letter. "This is incredible. But why me?" Sophia laughed. "Why not you? You've become a symbol of hope and resilience. People want to hear your story." Marcus leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. "This is a huge opportunity, but it's also a huge responsibility. If we're going to do this, we need to make sure we're ready." Sophia nodded, her expression serious. "We'll make it happen, but we'll need to bring the whole team together." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Marcus and his team worked tirelessly to prepare for the conference, gathering data, refining their message, and rehearsing their presentation. But as the event approached, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling of unease in his gut. The night before the conference, Marcus found himself on the rooftop terrace, staring out at the city skyline. The lights of the city twinkled below, a reminder of everything they'd fought for. He heard footsteps behind him and turned to see Sophia approaching, 2 cups of coffee in hand. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked, handing him a cup. Marcus smiled, accepting the coffee. "Too much on my mind. What about you?" Sophia shrugged, leaning against the railing. "Same. I keep thinking about everything we've been through. It's hard to believe it all comes down to tomorrow." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "No matter what happens, I want you to know how proud I am of everything we've accomplished. You've been incredible, Sophia. This hotel wouldn't be the same without you." Sophia's eyes softened. "Thanks, Marcus. That means a lot. But we're not done yet. We're going to win this. I know it." Marcus smiled, feeling a surge of determination. "You're right. We've come too far to give up now." The next morning, the conference hall was packed with attendees, including government officials, business leaders, and community organizers. Marcus stood backstage, his heart pounding but his resolve unwavering. Sophia, Carlos, and Jake were in the front row, their faces filled with quiet determination. When it was Marcus's turn to speak, he felt a calm settle over him. He knew what he had to do. "Thank you all for being here today," he began, his voice ringing out. "This is more than just a conference. It's a movement to lift up communities, to create opportunities, and to show what's possible when we come together." He went on to share the story of the Grand Horizon and the Rising Horizons program, emphasizing the importance of compassion, integrity, and collaboration. His words resonated with the audience, and by the end of his speech, the room erupted into applause. But the real impact came after the conference. Marcus and his team were inundated with requests for partnerships, funding, and support. The Horizons Unlimited program expanded rapidly, reaching new cities and helping even more communities. One of the most exciting developments was a partnership with a tech company called Bright Future, which specialized in sustainable energy solutions. The company's CEO, a dynamic woman named Dr. Emily Carter, approached Marcus after the conference. "Your story is inspiring," she said, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "I'd love to explore how we can work together to create sustainable, resilient communities." Marcus smiled, feeling a surge of excitement. "I'd love that. Let's make it happen." As the months turned into years, the Grand Horizon continued to thrive, becoming a global symbol of hope and resilience. Marcus and his team traveled the world, sharing their story and inspiring others to lead with compassion and integrity. One evening, As Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace of a new Grand Horizon location in Europe, he felt a hand slip into his. He turned to see Sophia, her face glowing with happiness. "You know," she said, her voice soft, "when I first started working here, I never imagined it would become this. It's like we're part of something bigger now." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We are. This hotel isn't just a place to stay, it's a community. And we've shown that when we lift each other up, there's nothing we can't achieve." Sophia smiled. "You've changed a lot of lives, Marcus, including mine." Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "And you've changed mine. This isn't just my story, it's ours." As they stood there, the city lights reflecting in their eyes, Marcus felt a sense of peace and purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a legacy, and he was proud to be part of it. The future was bright, and Marcus couldn't wait to see where it would take them. Years later, the Grand Horizon had become a global symbol of hope and inspiration. The Horizons Unlimited program had helped countless communities, creating jobs, supporting businesses, and lifting up families. Marcus and his team had become legends, their story inspiring others to lead with compassion and integrity. One evening, as Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace of the original Grand Horizon, looking out over the city skyline, he felt a hand slip into his. He turned to see Sophia, her face glowing with happiness. "You know," she said, her voice soft, "when I first started working here, I never imagined it would become this. It's like we're part of something bigger now." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We are. This hotel isn't just a place to stay, it's a community. And we've shown that when we lift each other up, there's nothing we can't achieve." Sophia smiled. "You've changed a lot of lives, Marcus, including mine." Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "And you've changed mine. This isn't just my story, it's ours." As they stood there, the city lights reflecting in their eyes, Marcus felt a sense of peace and purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a legacy, and he was proud to be part of it. The partnership with Bright Future, the sustainable energy company, had opened up a world of possibilities for the Grand Horizon. Under the leadership of Dr. Emily Carter, the collaboration brought cutting-edge technology and innovative solutions to the Horizons Unlimited program. Solar panels, wind turbines, and energy-efficient systems were installed in communities across the globe, transforming struggling neighborhoods into models of sustainability. One morning, Marcus stood in the lobby of a newly renovated Grand Horizon location in Nairobi, Kenya. The hotel was a marvel of modern design, blending traditional African architecture with state-of-the-art green technology. As he admired the vibrant artwork adorning the walls, Sophia approached, her face glowing with excitement. "This is incredible," she said, her voice filled with awe. "I can't believe how far we've come." Marcus smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "It's amazing what we can achieve when we work together. But this is just the beginning." The success of the Nairobi location had sparked interest from other countries, and soon, Marcus and his team were traveling the globe, expanding the Grand Horizon brand and the Horizons Unlimited program. Each new location presented unique challenges and opportunities, but Marcus's leadership and the team's dedication ensured that every project was a success. One of the most ambitious projects was in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The city's vibrant culture and breathtaking landscapes made it an ideal location, but the challenges were significant. Poverty, crime, and environmental issues plagued many neighborhoods, and Marcus knew that their work here would be more important than ever. As he walked through the bustling streets of Rio, Marcus was struck by the resilience and spirit of the people. He met with local leaders, community organizers, and business owners, listening to their stories and learning about their needs. One of the people he met was Isabella Santos, a fiery and passionate community leader who had dedicated her life to improving her neighborhood. "We don't need handouts," she told Marcus, her eyes blazing with determination. "We need opportunities. We need a chance to build something better." Marcus nodded, his respect for her growing. "That's exactly what we're here to do. Together, we can create something extraordinary." The Rio project became a flagship initiative for the Grand Horizon. Marcus and his team worked closely with Isabella and her community, building a hotel that was not only a place to stay but a hub of opportunity. They created job training programs, supported local businesses, and even built a community center where residents could gather, learn, and grow. One evening, as Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace of the Rio location, looking out over the city's iconic skyline, Isabella joined him. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the city. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft but filled with emotion. "You've given us hope. You've shown us what's possible." Marcus smiled, his heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you, Isabella. You've shown me the true meaning of resilience and determination. This is your victory, not mine." Isabella's eyes softened. "It's ours. Together, we've created something truly special." As the months turned into years, the Grand Horizon continued to expand, reaching new cities and touching new lives. Marcus and his team became global ambassadors for change, their story inspiring others to lead with compassion and integrity. One of the most exciting developments was a partnership with Global Green, an international organization dedicated to environmental sustainability. Together, they launched the Green Horizons Initiative, which focused on creating eco-friendly communities and promoting sustainable practices. The initiative was a resounding success, with projects in cities across the globe. From urban gardens in New York to solar-powered schools in India, the impact was profound and far-reaching. But with success came new challenges. As the Grand Horizon grew, so did the complexity of its operations. Marcus found himself stretched thin, juggling multiple projects and responsibilities. He knew that if they were going to continue to thrive, they needed to adapt. One evening, as Marcus sat in his office, reviewing reports and emails, Sophia walked in, her face filled with concern. "You look exhausted," she said, her voice gentle. "You can't keep going like this." Marcus sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know. But there's so much to do. I can't let everyone down." Sophia sat down across from him, her expression serious. "You're not letting anyone down. But you need to take care of yourself. And you need to trust the team. We're here for you, Marcus. Let us help." Marcus looked at her, his heart swelling with gratitude. "You're right. I can't do this alone. And I don't want to." The next day, Marcus called a meeting with his leadership team, Sophia, Carlos, Jake, and Dr. Emily Carter. Together, they developed a new structure for the Grand Horizon, one that emphasized collaboration and shared responsibility. "This isn't just about me," Marcus said, his voice filled with conviction. "It's about all of us. Together, we can achieve anything." The team nodded, their faces filled with determination. "We're with you, Marcus," Sophia said. "Whatever it takes." As the years passed, the Grand Horizon continued to thrive, becoming a global symbol of hope, resilience, and innovation. Marcus and his team traveled the world, sharing their story and inspiring others to lead with compassion and integrity. One evening, as Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace of the original Grand Horizon, looking out over the city skyline, he felt a hand slip into his. He turned to see Sophia, her face glowing with happiness. "You know," she said, her voice soft, "when I first started working here, I never imagined it would become this. It's like we're part of something bigger now." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We are. This hotel isn't just a place to stay, it's a community. And we've shown that when we lift each other up, there's nothing we can't achieve." Sophia smiled. "You've changed a lot of lives, Marcus. Including mine." Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "And you've changed mine. This isn't just my story, it's ours." As they stood there, the city lights reflecting in their eyes, Marcus felt a sense of peace and purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a legacy. And he was proud to be part of it. The future was bright, and Marcus couldn't wait to see where it would take them. Years later, the Grand Horizon had become a global symbol of hope and inspiration. The Horizons Unlimited and Green Horizons programs had helped countless communities, creating jobs, supporting businesses, and lifting up families. Marcus and his team had become legends, their story inspiring others to lead with compassion and integrity. One evening, as Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace of the original Grand Horizon, looking out over the city skyline, he felt a hand slip into his. He turned to see Sophia, her face glowing with happiness. "You know," she said, her voice soft, "when I first started working here, I never imagined it would become this. It's like we're part of something bigger now." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We are. This hotel isn't just a place to stay, it's a community. And we've shown that when we lift each other up, there's nothing we can't achieve." Sophia smiled. "You've changed a lot of lives, Marcus. Including mine." Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "And you've changed mine. This isn't just my story, it's ours." As they stood there, the city lights reflecting in their eyes, Marcus felt a sense of peace and purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a legacy. And he was proud to be part of it. Just as the Grand Horizon was reaching new heights of global success, a shadow began to loom over its legacy. Reports started surfacing in the media about alleged financial mismanagement within the Horizons Unlimited program. A whistleblower from one of the international branches claimed that funds meant for community projects were being diverted into private accounts. Marcus was blindsided. He called an emergency meeting with his leadership team: Sophia, Carlos, Jake, and Dr. Emily Carter. The atmosphere in the room was tense as they gathered around the table. "This is a disaster," Marcus said, his voice tight with frustration. "If these allegations gain traction, it could undo everything we've built." Sophia leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "We need to get ahead of this. Let's launch an internal investigation and be transparent about the findings. If there's any truth to these claims, we need to address it immediately." Dr. Carter nodded. "And if it's false, we need to prove it. We can't let baseless accusations tarnish our reputation." Marcus agreed. "All right. Sophia, you lead the investigation. Carlos, work with the legal team to prepare for any fallout. Jake, keep the staff informed and focused. Emily, let's make sure our sustainability projects aren't affected." The investigation revealed that the whistleblower's claims were partially true. A mid-level manager in the Nairobi branch had indeed been siphoning funds, exploiting loopholes in the system. Marcus was devastated. "How did this happen?" he asked, his voice heavy with guilt. "I thought we had safeguards in place." Sophia placed a hand on his shoulder. "We did. But no system is perfect. What matters now is how we handle this." Marcus took a deep breath, his resolve hardening. "You're right. We need to take responsibility and make this right." At a press conference the next day, Marcus addressed the allegations head-on. "We made a mistake," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "A member of our team betrayed the trust we placed in them, and we failed to catch it in time. But we're taking immediate action to ensure this never happens again." He announced a series of reforms, including stricter financial controls, regular audits, and a new ethics committee to oversee all projects. He also pledged to personally visit every affected community to apologize and ensure that the diverted funds were restored. The response was mixed. Some praised Marcus for his transparency, while others questioned whether the Grand Horizon could be trusted. The media frenzy was relentless, and Marcus felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. As the scandal unfolded, cracks began to appear within the team. Jake, who had always been Marcus's most loyal supporter, started to distance himself. One evening, Marcus found him in the hotel bar, nursing a drink. "You okay?" Marcus asked, sitting down beside him. Jake sighed, his usual humor absent. "I don't know, Marcus. This whole thing, it's got me thinking. Are we really making a difference, or are we just putting a band-aid on a broken system?" Marcus frowned. "What are you saying?" Jake looked at him, his eyes filled with doubt. "Maybe we're in over our heads. Maybe we need to step back and rethink what we're doing." Marcus felt a pang of hurt but nodded. "I get it. This hasn't been easy. But we can't give up now. Not when so many people are counting on us." Jake didn't respond, and Marcus knew their bond was being tested like never before. Meanwhile, Sophia discovered something even more troubling. The whistleblower wasn't acting alone. They were being manipulated by a powerful rival organization that wanted to see the Grand Horizon fail. She brought the evidence to Marcus, her face grim. "This goes deeper than we thought," she said. "They've been planting false information and bribing employees to sabotage us." Marcus clenched his fists, his anger rising. "Who's behind this?" Sophia hesitated. "It's Harold Thompson." Marcus's heart sank. Harold, the former manager who had been ousted years ago, had been quietly building a network of allies and resources to take revenge. He had been waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Marcus knew he had to confront Harold, but he also knew it wouldn't be easy. Harold was cunning and ruthless, and he had the resources to fight back. Marcus called a meeting with his team, laying out the plan. "We need to expose Harold," Marcus said, his voice firm. "But we have to be smart about it. If we go after him directly, he'll just deny everything. We need proof." Sophia nodded. "I've been digging into his finances. If we can trace the money he's been using to sabotage us, we can take him down." Carlos grinned. "Leave that to me. I've got a few contacts who can help." Jake, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "I'm in." "I'm sorry I doubted you, Marcus. Let's finish this." Marcus smiled, feeling a surge of hope. "Together, we can do anything." The team worked tirelessly, gathering evidence and building their case. They discovered that Harold had been funneling money through offshore accounts and using shell companies to hide his tracks. But with the help of Dr. Carter's tech expertise, they were able to trace the funds back to him. The final showdown took place at a high-profile charity gala, where Harold was the guest of honor. Marcus and his team arrived unannounced, their evidence in hand. As Harold took the stage to accept an award for his philanthropic efforts, Marcus stepped forward, his voice ringing out. "Before you honor this man, there's something you need to know," Marcus said, holding up a folder. "This is proof that Harold Thompson has been using his wealth and influence to sabotage the Grand Horizon and the communities we serve." The room fell silent as Marcus laid out the evidence, exposing Harold's lies and manipulations. Harold tried to deny it, but the proof was undeniable. The media erupted, and Harold was forced to leave in disgrace. With Harold's downfall, the Grand Horizon was able to rebuild its reputation. The reforms Marcus had implemented restored trust, and the team's dedication inspired even greater support from the public. One evening, as Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace of the original Grand Horizon, looking out over the city skyline, Sophia joined him. The lights of the city twinkled below, a reminder of how far they'd come. "We did it," she said, her voice soft but filled with pride. Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We did. But this isn't the end. It's a new beginning." Sophia smiled. "What's next?" Marcus turned to her. His eyes filled with determination. "We keep going. We keep fighting for what's right. And we keep showing the world what's possible when we come together." Just as the Grand Horizon was regaining its footing, a new challenge emerged, one that no one saw coming. A global economic downturn hit, causing widespread financial instability. Businesses were closing, unemployment was rising, and communities that had once thrived were now struggling to survive. Marcus knew that the Grand Horizon couldn't stand by and watch. He called a meeting with his leadership team, his expression serious. "We've been through a lot, but this might be our biggest challenge yet. People are hurting, and we need to do something." Sophia nodded, her brow furrowed. "But how? We're already stretched thin. If we take on more, we risk overextending ourselves." Carlos crossed his arms, his usual gruffness replaced by concern. "We can't just sit back and do nothing. But we need to be smart about it." Jake, who had been quiet, spoke up. "What if we partner with other organizations? Pool our resources and make a bigger impact?" Marcus's eyes lit up. "That's a great idea. Let's reach out to our network and see who's willing to collaborate. One of the first to respond was Global Green, the sustainability organization they'd partnered with before. Dr. Emily Carter was eager to help, but she also had a surprising suggestion. "There's someone else who wants to join us," she said during a video call. Harold Thompson ***. The room fell silent. Marcus's jaw tightened. Harold? After everything he's done? Dr. Carter nodded, her expression serious. "I know it's hard to believe, but he's reached out to me. He says he wants to make amends. He's willing to fund a new initiative to help communities affected by the economic crisis." Sophia frowned. "And we're supposed to trust him?" Dr. Carter sighed. "I don't know. But if he's serious, this could be a game changer. And if he's not, well, we'll be ready for him." Marcus was torn. The idea of working with Harold was unsettling, but the potential impact was too significant to ignore. He decided to meet with Harold face to face to gauge his intentions. The meeting took place in a neutral location, a small cafe in the city. Harold looked different, his usual arrogance replaced by a quiet humility. He extended his hand to Marcus, who hesitated before shaking it. "I know I don't deserve your trust," Harold said, his voice sincere. "But I want to make things right. I've made mistakes, huge ones, but I'm ready to do better." Marcus studied him, searching for any sign of deception. "Why now? What's changed?" Harold sighed, his shoulders slumping. "Losing everything. It made me realize how much I've hurt people. I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to help." Marcus took a deep breath, his mind racing. "If we do this, there are conditions. Full transparency. No hidden agendas. And if you betray us again, I won't hesitate to take you down." Harold nodded, his expression serious. "Understood." The partnership with Harold was announced to the team, and the reaction was mixed. Sophia was skeptical, Jake was outright angry, and Carlos was cautiously optimistic. But Marcus stood firm. "I know this isn't easy," he said during a team meeting. "But if Harold is serious about making amends, we have to give him a chance. And if he's not, we'll handle it." The new initiative, called Horizons Together, was launched with Harold's funding. It focused on creating jobs, supporting small businesses, and providing resources to communities hit hardest by the economic crisis. The impact was immediate and profound, but the tension within the team remained. One evening, as Marcus was reviewing reports in his office, Sophia walked in, her face filled with concern. "I just want to make sure you're okay," she said. "This can't be easy for you." Marcus sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's not. But I have to believe people can change. If we don't give them a chance, how can we expect them to do better?" Sophia's eyes softened. "You're a better person than I am, Marcus. But I'll stand by you, no matter what." As the weeks turned into months, Harold proved to be a valuable ally. He worked tirelessly, using his connections and resources to support the initiative. But the real test came when a crisis hit one of their projects. A community center in Detroit, funded by Horizons Together, was vandalized just days before its grand opening. The damage was extensive, and the community was devastated. Harold was on the scene immediately, helping to clean up and pledging to cover the repairs. Marcus arrived the next day, his heart heavy. He found Harold in the middle of the chaos, his sleeves rolled up and his face smudged with dirt. "You didn't have to do this," Marcus said, his voice filled with gratitude. Harold looked at him, his expression sincere. "Yes, I did. This is my chance to make things right. And I'm not going to waste it." The Detroit Community Center opened on schedule, thanks to Harold's efforts. The event was a celebration of resilience and hope, with Marcus and Harold standing side by side as the ribbon was cut. As the crowd cheered, Marcus turned to Harold, his heart swelling with pride. "You've come a long way," he said. "Thank you for proving me right." Harold smiled, his eyes filled with emotion. "Thank you for giving me a second chance." The success of Horizons Together marked a new chapter for the Grand Horizon. The team was stronger than ever, their bond unbreakable. And as they looked to the future, Marcus knew that no matter what challenges came their way, they would face them together. One evening, as Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace of the original Grand Horizon, looking out over the city skyline, Sophia joined him. The lights of the city twinkled below, a reminder of how far they'd come. "You know," she said, her voice soft, "when I first started working here, I never imagined it would become this. It's like we're part of something bigger now." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We are. This hotel isn't just a place to stay, it's a community. And we've shown that when we lift each other up, there's nothing we can't achieve." Sophia smiled. "You've changed a lot of lives, Marcus. Including mine." Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "And you've changed mine. This isn't just my story, it's ours." Years had passed since Marcus first stepped into the Grand Horizon as its new owner. What had started as a single hotel had grown into a global movement, touching countless lives and inspiring communities around the world. The Horizons Unlimited and Horizons Together programs had become symbols of hope, resilience, and the power of collective action. One evening, Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace of the original Grand Horizon, looking out over the city skyline. The lights of the city twinkled below, a reminder of how far they'd come. Sophia joined him, her face glowing with happiness. "You know," she said, her voice soft, "when I first started working here, I never imagined it would become this. It's like we're part of something bigger now." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We are. This hotel isn't just a place to stay, it's a community. And we've shown that when we lift each other up, there's nothing we can't achieve." Sophia smiled. "You've changed a lot of lives, Marcus. Including mine." Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "And you've changed mine. This isn't just my story, it's ours." The next day, the Grand Horizon hosted a special event to celebrate its 10th anniversary under Marcus's leadership. The grand ballroom was filled with guests from around the world, business leaders, community organizers, and the countless people whose lives had been touched by the hotel's initiatives. As Marcus stood at the podium, looking out at the sea of smiling faces, he felt a surge of pride. "Thank you all for being here today," he began, his voice ringing out. "This isn't just a celebration of the Grand Horizon, it's a celebration of us, of the incredible people who have made this journey possible." He went on to share the story of the Grand Horizon, from its humble beginnings to its global impact. He spoke of the challenges they'd faced, the lessons they'd learned, and the lives they'd touched. And he ended with a powerful message. "The Grand Horizon is more than just a hotel," Marcus said, his voice filled with passion. "It's a legacy of hope, resilience, and compassion. And it's a reminder that when we come together, there's nothing we can't achieve." The room erupted into applause, and Marcus felt a lump form in his throat. He looked out at Sophia, Carlos, Jake, and Harold, their faces filled with pride and gratitude. After the event, Marcus found himself surrounded by well-wishers, each eager to share their stories of how the Grand Horizon had impacted their lives. One of them was Maya, the young woman who had been inspired to start her own community program years ago. "Thank you, Marcus," she said, her eyes shining with tears. "You've changed my life. And because of you, I've been able to change the lives of so many others." Marcus smiled, his heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you, Maya. That means everything to me." As the night wound down, Marcus found himself back on the rooftop terrace, looking out over the city skyline. The lights of the city twinkled below, a reminder of how far they'd come, and how much further they could go. Sophia joined him, her face glowing with happiness. "You did it, Marcus. You've created something truly special." Marcus shook his head. "We did it. This isn't just my legacy, it's ours." Sophia's eyes softened. "You've changed a lot of lives, Marcus. Including mine." Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "And you've changed mine. This isn't just my story, it's ours." As they stood there, the city lights reflecting in their eyes, Marcus felt a sense of peace and purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a legacy, and he was proud to be part of it. The future was bright, and Marcus couldn't wait to see where it would take them. Years later, the Grand Horizon had become a global symbol of hope and inspiration. The Horizons Unlimited and Horizons Together programs had helped countless communities, creating jobs, supporting businesses, and lifting up families. Marcus and his team had become legends, their story inspiring others to lead with compassion and integrity. One evening, as Marcus stood on the rooftop terrace of the original Grand Horizon, looking out over the city skyline, he felt a hand slip into his. He turned to see Sophia, her face glowing with happiness. "You know," she said, her voice soft, "when I first started working here, I never imagined it would become this. It's like we're part of something bigger now." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We are. This hotel isn't just a place to stay, it's a community. And we've shown that when we lift each other up, there's nothing we can't achieve." Sophia smiled. "You've changed a lot of lives, Marcus, including mine." Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "And you've changed mine. This isn't just my story, it's ours." As they stood there, the city lights reflecting in their eyes, Marcus felt a sense of peace and purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. The Grand Horizon was more than just a hotel, it was a legacy, and he was proud to be part of it. The future was bright, and Marcus couldn't wait to see where it would take them.